Hey viewers, welcome back to another video here on Z-Man Productions, the puppet and music guy. So today I'm dressed up in my Kermit Green outfit. As we all know, today is May 16th. This is the day the world lost a good puppeteer all of us Henson fans have learned about. Jim Henson has been one of the most phenomenal performers. I understand that a lot of us new puppeteers have not met Jim Henson, but we have learned about him through a lot of books about him, including YouTube. So today, to honor Jim Henson, although I never got to meet him, I'm wearing my Kermit Green costume. I also want to say, those of you Henson fans who were watching out there this morning, I'd like to share a couple things. We all pretty much remember learning Jim Henson was born on September, back in 1936, on September 24th. We all know that he was named James Murray Henson, but his family would often call him Jimmy. A lot of us probably read he had a brother, Paul Henson. Named after his dad, Paul Henson Sr. Jim also lived in Leland, Mississippi. A lot of us pretty much heard out of the biography by Brian J. Jones, the author of the Jim Henson biography. Jim used to say, I was a Mississippi Tom Sawyer back then. Pretty much heard that around Leland, Mississippi, Jim Henson enjoyed nature and watching animals, and he also loved entertaining his family. While I'm on camera, viewers, I'm still going to talk about Henson, since this is May 16th, the anniversary of his death, from 1990. I have this book here, some of you probably have, called It's Not Easy Being Green, and Other Things to Consider, Jim Henson, The Muppets, and Friends. There's a quote I read out of this book that Jim Henson has said long ago. As children, we live in a world of imagination, fantasy. And for some of us adults, that world continues into adulthood. Hey, look at me. I'm 20 years old and I'm still playing with puppets myself and all. I'm sure a lot of you Henson fans who are also puppeteers on YouTube, like the Crumpet Puppet Troupe, Samuel Santiago from Puppa Puppets, including Matthew's Random Stuff, and Sesame Music Television, are all pretty much doing the same thing. You know, the way how I see how Jim Henson made a difference in this world is an amazing thing. I remember back then, when I was little, the first time I ever watched Sesame Street. One of the songs that I learned besides It's Not Easy Being Green would also be I Don't Want to Live on the Moon from Ernie. A lot of us who were born in the early 2000s pretty much remember these songs from our childhood. Those of you who grew up in the 80s and in the 90s, 60s and 70s, probably remember those songs too. This man, everybody, made a difference in this world. I can tell that when all of us were kids back then, it was fun sitting down in front of that television, learning how to count, say our alphabet, learning about sharing, being kind to others was a thrill for all of us Henson fans. Jim Henson may not be here today, viewers, in 2022, but you know what? That doesn't mean he's out of style. The Muppets are still on TV today and on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of us Henson fans subscribe to Sesame Street, the Muppets, and the Jim Henson Company. Look at me. I subscribe to a lot of those. I like to share another quote that I really like out of this book here I have in my hand here. Other than just the one that Jim wrote. I also love a lot of other quotes I've read out of here. I remember this quote that I read out of here. Jim Henson also said on the making of The Muppet Show on YouTube, that a lot of us have pretty much watched, called Of Muppets and Men, which shows how the performers do The Muppet Show. This quote I really love. Jim Henson wrote this, saying, Kermit's function on the show is very much like my own, in that he's trying to hold together this group of crazies. And that's not unlike what I do. Jim Henson kept the Muppets under control. I know that he and Kermit did an excellent job doing that. There's a lot of puppeteers who I've seen on YouTube who are Henson fans. I know I'm not the only Henson fan in the world. There's a lot of other performers I really like on YouTube who are Henson fans. Those of you who are watching out there who are Henson fans, be prepared, because you're probably about to hear your channel name call out. So these are the channels I really like a lot who are Henson fans. Samuel Santiago from Puppets, The Crumpet Puppet Troupe, Sesame Music Television, Full Productions, Danny and Frankie, and also Matthew's Random Stuff. You puppeteers out there, if you all are watching, I've seen your work on your channels. I want to say I'm impressed by your work. So keep up the good work. Keep your chins up. A lot of us Henson fans are pretty much following Jim Henson's footsteps on continuing puppetry. That's pretty much part of my goal here on my channel, Z-Man Productions, the Puppet and Music Guy. Part of my goal is to keep up puppetry. Without Jim Henson, Kermit wouldn't be here today. I'll also say this. I'd like to continue what I was saying about Jim before I read these quotes. We all pretty much heard the early Muppets came on television back in the 1950s. Viewers, that really is amazing what he did. It's also a thrill he was only in college when Kermit was born. We all pretty much heard out of the Henson books. Jim made Kermit out of his mom's turquoise green coat by cutting his mom's fabric coat, stitching it into a shape, putting ping pong balls on for eyes, drawing a line through the ball, making a character talk like that. I will say this, for a Henson fan, that is so inspiring, what he did. There's other people on YouTube who are also puppeteers, who I also love watching, who I haven't called out, and I like to do that right now. Central Performing Arts Guild with Mary Sherman, Craig Isley, the Holocryptids, including Professor Mark Toonery. Those of you who don't know those people, these are the people who I worked with when we did the Holocryptids. Go ahead and check out their channel and subscribe to them. A couple things I'd like to say before I end this video. I think it's an honor what Jim Henson did to help all of us learn about puppetry, our ABCs, counting. Hey, Jerry Nelson may not be here with us today either in 2022, but still, I mean, that was so amazing. The count, teaching all of us to count. Some of those characters are no longer on Sesame Street or on the Muppets today. But you know, we can all, who are Henson fans, always look back at those old school videos on YouTube or on DVD. Those of you who have DVD players or VHSs. And remember those old years from when we were kids, when we all used to sit back and enjoy Sesame Street and The Muppet Show and Fraggle Rock, The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, the commercials the Muppets did. When I flipped on YouTube one day and saw the Wilkins coffee commercial, those two characters had me laughing for months. It was amazing. The commercial I enjoyed of Jim Henson's, viewers, is the one where the two Muppets are underwater in scuba diving gear suits. The Happy Muppet saying, "Let's go to the surface for Wilkins coffee." Grouchy Muppet would say, "No, I don't touch Wilkins." A big whale with teeth gobbles up that character, the Happy Muppet saying, "Well, you got to. It's a whale of a coffee." Those commercials, viewers, that Jim did were amazing, and they still are today. That's pretty much all I want to say today, viewers. But before I forget, I know this is May 16th. I know this is the day Jim Henson passed away from 1990. But I want you viewers to know, Jim Henson may not be here with us today in 2022. But instead of crying and sobbing, what if we were told to put big smiles on our faces? And remember those years when we were all kids, growing up with Sesame Street, The Muppet Show, Fraggle Rock, and all the other shows Jim did. And think of it not just only as good memories, but inspiration of how a lot of us learned education and about different types of puppetry. While I'm on camera for a few more minutes, I want to say, love to have you click that bell, leave a thumb up. I'd love to hear in the comments on what you think of Jim Henson, what your favorite quote is, what your favorite thing about him is. And on what your favorite show is that he made. Also like to have you subscribe down below. And remember, viewers, before I end this video, I want to say, this is May 16th. Instead of crying, because Jim is no longer with us in 2022, let's have big smiles on our faces. And remember those years where we all grew up watching Jim Henson. Let's remember that today.